Welcome to the very first episode of Full Throttle on Unprecedented TV. I'm Brian Gregory, Policy Director of the ABD, the Alliance of British Drivers.
And I'm Paul Naylor, also a Director with the ABD. And this is the show where we will be putting transport, freedom and common sense firmly in the driving seat.
Yeah, our mission is simple, and that's to defend drivers and passengers and stand up for your right to move freely and to challenge policies that put ideology before common sense and people.
From road pricing and speed limits to electric vehicles, aviation and rail, we'll separate fact from fiction and make sure that your voice is heard.
And in today's episode, the first topic we're going to look at is the new rules that will affect drivers over the age of 70.
So buckle up and get ready, because this is Full Throttle.
Okay, well, you may be aware that the government is planning to test all road users above 70 years of age for eyesight deficiencies. It's already been criticised by a number of civil liberties groups because it's ageist. The simple fact is that almost all road accidents actually involve poor observation, poor hazard reception, and poor hazard response. So if you've got crap eyesight, then you're going to have crap hazard and perception, crap observation, and it'll make you a worse driver. So it should be rolled out for all drivers, not just over 70s.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Brian, but I've been aware of spectacles since before the age of 7. So my eyesight clearly has never been brilliant and has deteriorated over the years. And I found out relatively recently, probably in the last 5 years or so, that I've got glaucoma as well. So I had to have not only the regular eye checks, but also for glaucoma. Now, there's probably a number of drivers out there that don't even realise that they've got other conditions other than those detected by the likes of Specsavers.
Absolutely.
So again, it's not really an age thing. If you've got problems with your eyes, you should be tested the same as anybody else. I have to be particularly careful at junctions, and we'll talk more about that in a feature that we've got coming up later on. But yeah, calling it at 70 just seems a little bit ageist.
Yeah, well, and of course they're also going for the bottom end of the driving spectrum, but then of course young drivers are statistically the ones with the highest accident incidence.
Yeah,
so there's some fairness in that, but again, if they're young and also have defective eyesight, that's a very toxic combination.
It is, yeah. So I think we're both in agreement that sort of calling it out from the age of 70 and upwards doesn't seem like the right approach. This should be something more connected to sight tests and known conditions where people may struggle beyond what is short-sightedness or long-sightedness, and monitor those regularly, regardless of the age. Yeah,
absolutely. And certainly there is a phenomenon, physiological phenomenon that affects all humans, which is called saccadic masking. And this is because of the way that our eyes work. And essentially, when your brain receives an image, if your head is still, then that is what's called a fixation. And you will see that image. But if you are turning your head, your brain actually doesn't register the images while you're turning your head. It fills the gap in with what it thinks should be there. And that's called a saccade. And what happens is, under certain circumstances, you can actually totally fail to see particularly low profile, narrow objects like bicycles and motorbikes if that's in a saccade when you're panning round at a junction. So you have to very carefully stop and look, sitting with your head still, not just pan and then pan back, because you could miss a road user, pedestrian, cyclist or whatever. And the simple fact is that around 25% of road traffic accidents, and particularly killed and seriously injured ones, occur at junctions. So clearly saccadic masking is active. We have raised this with both the Department for Transport and the Department of Vehicle Driver and Vehicle Standards Agency. We got a letter back from a psychologist, not even a medical doctor, saying that they thought this was a peripheral issue of low importance. Well, it is certainly a peripheral issue, but we believe it's very high importance, and we think the government should be doing something about it. And clearly, they just want to brush it under the carpet.
And funnily enough, peripheral vision is what glaucoma affects. So I regularly have to go and have a click test where I'm there. I'm a little clicker where I'm supposedly seeing little dabs of light. And over the course of various visits, it's picked up on the fact that, particularly in my left eye, I've probably got 3/4 of my eye that works and a quarter of it that doesn't. So I'm very conscious of saccadic masking, because when I'm at a junction, I look like crazy, particularly when I'm looking left, knowing that eye has got some minor defect, if you like. And it is important that, like you say, when you're moving your head, don't just move it, fix on where you're looking as well. It's almost like taking a picture. It's like taking a photo of what's going on. And so it's a very important video, and I'm surprised and not surprised that it got the response it got, because these are the sort of walls that we hit time and time again. The saccadic masking video is something that everybody should watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're going to show it now.
Sorry, mate, I didn't see you. Those words are often heard after a driver has pulled out in front of another road user. In most cases, the driver will have looked, but was fooled into thinking the road was clear because of the way our eyes and brain see things when we turn our heads. As we move our heads from side to side, our eyes send snapshots to our brain at intervals, in much the same way as a video camera records frames. Our brain then merges the snapshots, called fixations, into what we think is a continuous sweep. But that is an illusion. Between the fixations, there are blind spots, called saccades. If another road user happens to fall within one of these blind spots, they will not be seen. This is known as saccadic masking. The faster we move our heads, the shorter the fixations and the longer the saccades will be. So the risk of not seeing another road user increases, especially if they're a cyclist, motorcyclist, or pedestrian. To overcome this, drivers need to adopt a different approach when checking if the road is clear. Instead of continuous head movement, a driver should pause for a fraction of a second to focus on at least 3 points when looking to the left and right to check close, middle, and long distance. With practice, this can be achieved quickly and will overcome the normal limitations of the eyes and brain.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's essential viewing for anybody interested in road safety. And strangely, one of the Lincolnshire camera partnerships actually asked us for permission to use that video for road safety purposes. So at least they're aware of it, even if large parts of the road safety community aren't. The other interesting point is that all commercial pilots and all military pilots are taught to counteract saccadic masking.
Right.
So
do you know how they do that? What?
Well, by basically training them to do exactly what the video says, to stop, focus on near and far and very short distance, and then move on and do it again, but from a stationary eye position, not panning.
Yeah.
Pan, then you look, pan, look, pan, but you don't look and pan, because in that very action, you're creating longer saccades. Yeah.
I mean, it's not difficult to do at the end of the day, is it, Brian? I mean, it's just really adopting something that you do every time that you're in that situation. It's really simple to do.
When you're aware of it, but if you're not aware of it, you'll just continue to use the faulty system that most people use, which is to turn the heads and look without stopping and then focusing, because then you're in a fixation. You're not in a saccade or saccade or whatever you want to call it. But that's not being promoted. And I mean, to use that film for road safety purposes, DFT could just top and tail it.
Yeah.
Use it as is.
Yeah. And it's something that we promote quite frequently from the ABD. but it's something that I think you and I both agree that it's something that we will continually promote, and perhaps on a more frequent basis until the penny drops.
Yeah, and certainly getting out on a broadcast like this helps, because more people will see it and realise it's important. We should maybe, I don't know if it's possible, at the end of the video, we can put the YouTube link up for that saccadic masking video.
Yeah,
maybe do that at the end. Okay, now since we've opened the road safety can of worms, let's continue with that, because going back for me certainly to the early days of ABD, when we were still the Association of British Drivers before we allied with the Drivers Alliance, becoming the Alliance of British Drivers, we actually got the statistics, the causation statistics, and took a copy of the causation statistics to a meeting with the DFT, and we pointed out that the top factors far and away in road accident precipitating factors of road accidents were observation, hazard perception, hazard response related things like failed to look but did not see, failed to judge the path or speed of a converging road user. So those are all hazard perception, hazard response, and hazard observation, hazard perception, hazard response failures. And the comment we got back from a sort of Sir Humphrey DFT character was along the lines of all the factors that pertain in the precipitation of road accidents, none is as amenable to treatment as speed. And you could just almost see the guy who was Sir Humphrey and yes, Prime Minister saying something like that. And basically the translation for that is, well, we either don't know or we don't really want to address the primary causes, precipitating factors of road accidents. So we'll make important one that we can easily measure, which is speed. And when you actually look at the precipitation factors, speed is at the bottom, and it's somewhere between 3 and 5%. There are numerous speed compliance reports brought out by the Department for Transport over years, and they all say something like 2.7, 2.8% of road traffic accidents have an illegal speed precipitating factor. So it's a very low portion, and the only way that the DFT get the speed contribution up to a third is by rolling in inappropriate speed. And there are three other categories. There's inappropriate speed, excessive speed, and illegal speed. Well, excessive, but within the speed limit. The problem is that the DFT rolls excessive speed, but below the speed limit, inappropriate speed, also below the speed limit, and illegal speed together. And by that mechanism, they can get something like a third of accidents as speed related. But the problem is the only speed that speed cameras can detect is illegal. The other ones
excessive speed,
no, illegal speed. It has to be. But loads of accidents. I mean, I can take you to one junction on a national speed limit road. If you try to go around that corner at 60 miles an hour, it's what's called a transitional bend. It's a throwback from railway engineering, and the bend tightens up as you go around it. If you approach it at 60 and try to hold 60, you'll just come straight off the road and go into a hedge. So you have to obviously drive to the road conditions and be aware of the convergence point. And if you can see it's a transitional bend, then you have to back off and let the car take you round. But none of that figures in the world of the Department for Transport.
Well, they've got a specific narrative, haven't they? I mean, one of the most dangerous things on the road is when people are driving way below the speed limit. Yeah, because that can cause all sorts of hazards. My dear old dad, who's sadly no longer with us, towards the end of his driving life, particularly once it got to dusk and beyond, he really was a very slow driver. And regularly I would look in the rearview mirror as he was totally along with me in the passenger seat, and I could see a row of traffic that looked like we were going to the theme park. There was lots and lots of cars behind us, and clearly these people were getting frustrated because they got to go where they got to go. So going slow in my mind is probably more dangerous than people that are going slightly more than they should.
And certainly the statistics bear that out. There's something called the Solomon curve, which is an accident risk speed curve. And what the Solomon curve shows is actually the slowest 30% of drivers are actually more dangerous than the highest 30%. And in fact, the Solomon curve also shows that the safest drivers are the ones that travel between the 80th and 90th percentiles. So only 10% of the traffic goes faster than them.
Yeah.
And 80% goes slower. And traditionally, speed limits were set based on that principle, the 85th percentile. The speed limit was set at that speed, which was measured looking at free traffic speeds. So, no traffic jams or anything on freely flowing traffic. And that was used as the guideline for setting speed limits. But since then, the DFT has relaxed that. And some speed limits now are set as low as the 50th percentile, which means that the 50% of the speed distribution is being criminalized, including the 10% that are the safest drivers.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a short break and we'll be back to talk more about motoring matters very shortly.
Unfiltered, uncensored, unprecedented TV.
So, Brian, I was talking a little bit there about how slow my dad was driving when he was in his mid-70s at the time. And the age of 70, as we spoke about earlier, has been very much in the news lately. And one such victim is the much-loved and much viewed Christopher Biggins, and I believe we've got a clip about Biggins being banned.
I've been persecuted personally here. Bizarre. So there was a story in the Mail today, and I think it's going to be one in the Times tomorrow. And it's just, is it ageism? Is it because I'm 76? I can see perfectly. Yeah. I'm wearing my glasses, which are terrific. And, I'd like to know what the problem is.
Definitely. Well, we've worked together in broadcasting for several years, and you're perfect with the prompter and everything else, sometimes which is in small typeface. And, there you are with your corrective spectacles on. I'm wearing glasses too. It sounds to me, well, you're asking, is it ageism? Well, it may well be, but it's also a terrible culture of computer says no. It seems like DVLA's automated systems don't have the wherewithal to renew and update your details with the positive test for your eyesight. I mean, I don't understand why a good eye test doesn't trump a bad one.
Yeah. Can't argue with that.
Yeah, exactly.
And as we said before, Christopher Biggins is having an eye test and checking on it. But what about all the millions of people below the age of 70 with defective eyesight who haven't gone anywhere near an optician?
And you've also got a number of road users who probably for reasons of vanity don't wear their glasses when they're driving. Yeah.
Indeed. So I think we're going to delve into this further, and we're going to talk about accident causation, the myths, the main myth being speed kills, and the reality, and the top 3 accident causes you didn't even know about, or most people don't even know about.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So what are the main ones then, Brian?
They're the ones I mentioned before, the observation ones. Fail to look but did not see, saccadic masking, or fail to judge the path or speed of another road user, right? So they're all observation, hazard perception, and hazard response judgment factors. They're not anything to do with any particular speed. They apply all speeds.
Yes.
So the idea that speed kills, speed in the wrong place can definitely kill, but there are many times where making expeditious use of speed is a good idea.
Absolutely, which is something that obviously we won't be talking about in depth today, but we can touch on and do something more on at a later date, is the speed limiters that are being put onto vehicles, because occasionally you do need to put your foot down to get out of trouble.
Yeah. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the the most dangerous maneuver that you can do in general is overtaking another vehicle, and you want to do it as quickly as possible. And of course, the other thing with overtaking is you need to be aware what junctions there are on the offside in case in your overtake somebody pulls out of a junction into your path, and a lot of people don't think about that before starting an overtake.
No.
So there are a number of serious factors, but expeditious overtaking is a way to reduce accident risk because your time exposed to danger is lower.
Yeah. And where are you more likely to be overtaking it at haste? It's when you've been stuck behind somebody that's doing 20 in a 40 miles.
Yeah, or worse, 20 in a 60.
Yeah, even worse. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So really, we're going to actually look. We have got a graphic of the statistics for causation factors showing just how important each of those main factors are. What it shows is basically what we've been saying, that the key factor, and it's a factor in a 40% contribution to all accidents, fail to look properly. The second one, about 20%, was fail to judge path or speed. The third one was loss of control, slippery conditions. Well, that relates to the excessive speed rather than illegal speed. Careless, reckless, hurried. Again, that's corresponds to the loss of control. Poor turn or maneuver. Well, that is a combination of the other ones, and saccadic masking conceivably. Sudden braking, swerved. Too fast for the conditions, which is the excessive speed.
Yeah.
Following too close. Alcohol or drug impaired is 5%, and exceeding the speed limit is separated out and is only 5%. Yeah. So only 1 in 20 accidents. Okay. Now, if you start delving down further and you look into the actual serious and fatal accidents, if we look at the serious injury accidents, that basically again shows loss of control, slippery conditions, about 40%, failed to look properly, careless, reckless, hurried, poor turn or maneuver, alcohol or drug impaired. These are fatal accidents. Exceeding the speed limit is 15% of fatal accidents. Absolutely. Failed to judge path or speed, too fast for the conditions, sudden braking and aggressive driving. The difference is when you actually look at fatal accidents, which you can or used to be able to do, although I think DFT are making it more and more difficult to extract these statistics now because it doesn't support their narrative. And it's slide 23. When you actually analyse the speeds at which vehicles were travelling in fatal crashes, you find that 85% of fatal crashes occur at or below the speed limit. Only 15% occur above the speed limit. Yeah. And for serious injury, it's even more stark. 93% of serious injury crashes occur at or below the speed limit, and only 7% above. You can also...
That's quite shocking, really, isn't it? You would never guess it would be as high as that. But yeah.
But I mean, the other thing is that the DFT and all the road safety messaging we get from the road safety establishment is that it's speed kills. Well, actually, traveling at or within the speed limit kills a lot more people than traveling above the speed limit. Yeah. But I think that's in some ways a bit of a glib way of looking at it, because when you actually delve down into the statistics for those fatal accidents, the ones that I mentioned before, and we're looking at slide 26 now, you can see that the factors that contribute to above speed limit crashes are completely different from the ones for the vast majority of road accidents. Top is aggressive driving. Mm-hmm. Second is crime. Third is stolen cars. Well, is that not crime as well?
Well, yeah, you think, wouldn't you?
Fourth is drugs. Fifth, double white transgression. Sixth, alcohol. 7, mobile use. Or 8, inexperienced or unlicensed. Well, if you contrast those with the factors that we looked at earlier with the total all road accidents, it's a different set of causation factors, and really those causation factors for the fatal crashes in general, they involve gross perceptual impairment through drugs, alcohol, or both, or just total what's the word I'm looking for? Total a rejection of normal road safety concerns, because these people are more interested in escaping from a crime scene than they are in observing safe road safety practice.
Well, yeah.
They're more worried about the cop car chasing them than they are about anybody else's safety. So
well, that's right. Yeah.
These people are not representative of the vast majority of normal drivers who just want to get from A to B as quickly as possible, consistent with being safe. But those drivers are being used to oppress the vast majority of drivers who are, in many cases nowadays, exceeding speed limits that are being set far too low for the road conditions, and just they're really to slow drivers down, make their journeys longer and boring, and actually try and almost force them out of their cars and onto public transport.
Yeah, and in the majority of the cases there, in those figures that are in that 15% wedge, they are people that just don't care. That's exactly what it comes down to. They don't care about others. They, in many cases, they don't care about themselves.
Sociopathic mindset. Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you get through to that mindset? It's probably something that you never will be able to sort.
Well, certainly, electronic highwaymen won't, because if they pinch the car, they won't care whether it's got an NIP for speeding on it.
Exactly.
Essentially, you need to junk all the electronic highwaymen, the speed cameras, and you need to put police patrols out on the road looking for dangerous driving behaviour. Go back to the old model that we had before road safety went down the pan. Because certainly when I started driving, the road safety was based on really three principles. There was engineering to make roads safer, education to make road users drive safer, and enforcement was the backstop. That was the last resort. But now we've got a one-legged pony, and it's an enforcement pony. Yeah. And we don't seem to do road engineering improvements to make roads safer, and we certainly don't educate road users. When can you last remember seeing any kind of road safety message public information film?
Yeah,
I can't remember one in the recent past.
There's not been any sort of public information films for many years now, and it's all the things that are highlighted in public information films are as valid today as they were in the 70s and the 80s. Absolutely. So why we don't get them is beyond me. Anyway, we're going for a short break, and we'll be back in a moment.
Okay, well, back again. Just to really hammer home the comments that we were making before about road accident causation, there's a quote from Paul Garvin, who used to be the Chief Constable of Durham, And it comes from quite a while ago, but it's still as valid now as it was then. And basically what Paul said, and I'll read it out. If you break down the 1,900 collisions we have each year, this was in County Durham, only 3%, 60 collisions, involve cars that are breaking the speed limit. Speed may be a factor in the background, but the actual cause of the accident invariably is drink driving or drug driving. So harking back to the statistics we've already shown. And it's these drivers that are used as the excuse to persecute the rest of us. Instead of concentrating on the problem drivers, they go for the low-hanging fruit and just tar all other drivers and other road users with the same brush.
Yeah.
So and I think the other big thing that's changed, which doesn't get much coverage, is the really road safety, apart from the observation, hazard perception, hazard response things, which applies to all road users, not just motorized ones. There has to be some sense of personal responsibility, because ultimately your safety is in your own hands, and you shouldn't palm that responsibility off on somebody else, like car drivers or bus drivers or whatever. You ought to act individually in a responsible fashion. But we have a culture now where we've got many vulnerable road users, pedestrians, cyclists even, riding along with headphones on, messing about with mobile phones, not looking at the situation that's occurring around them. So observation, poor; hazard perception, very poor; hazard response, nil. So these are literally road users, accident waiting to happen road users, and there's no onus on vulnerable road users to actually look after their own safety, which is a very, very poor position to be in. And of course, the proliferation of 20 mile per hour speed limits on ideological grounds is making this worse, because vulnerable road users are given the perception that 20 mile per hour limits are safer than 30 mile an hour and other speed limit roads. But in fact, the statistics don't bear that out, because what seems to happen is, given this mistaken perception, vulnerable road users take less care and become, in effect, less responsible and precipitate more accidents.
Yeah.
So, there's the whole issue of personal responsibility and road users need to understand your road safety is in your hands, nobody else's.
Yeah.
Other people, my responsibility when I'm driving a car is to look after my own and my passengers' safety, not to look after the safety of other road users who do stupid things. I will try and avoid impacting with them. But if it's a choice between swerving into a lamppost and just braking and trying to reduce impact speed, then I'll do that, because it's my passengers and myself who are putting our own safety at risk for somebody else's stupidity. And it shouldn't be necessary.
Now, we've talked about how speed is perhaps less a factor in accidents than people may have otherwise thought. Speed enforcement, as we know, there's speed cameras, there's fixed ones, there's the ones where they just suddenly turn up, and if you're lucky, you'll find out that they're there before you actually come across them. But are cameras really preventing accidents, or are they purely there to raise revenue?
Well, we've looked into this a lot, and it's our contention that really speed cameras don't do anything to improve road safety. And in many cases, they're placed to get the maximum traffic throughput, to get the maximum number of road traffic offences and the maximum revenue. And certainly, if you plot statistics of road deaths and serious injuries against detected road traffic offences and speed awareness course numbers, it paints a rather stark picture, and it looks at traffic offences and road deaths between 1980 and 2022. Having a chance to update it, but certainly what you can see is the mass enforcement era started in 1991, 92, and what was clear was there was roughly a 7% per annum compound reduction in road casualties under the old 3 E's regime: education, engineering, enforcement. But as soon as the speed camera era came in, the deaths stepped out, and we got a plateau for quite a number of years where road deaths weren't improving, but the number of cameras and speeding offences was going up.
Yeah.
Then I think I can account for after the plateau, there was a decline from about probably about 8 or 10 years where there was a decline, and I think that was coincided with the introduction of ABS, all the other airbags, side intrusion bars, all those other things to improve the passive safety of cars. Yeah. But then by about 2009, 2010, virtually all cars on the road now have got ABS, they've got traction control, they've got stability control, and they've got all the airbags and all the rest of it. And the deaths flatlined again. And they've essentially been in a flatline position. But what you can see on this graph also is that the prosecutions, the detected or speed offences have basically been flat or maybe slightly rising. But what has been rising, a huge increase in the number of speed awareness courses. It's no good effect because they haven't done anything to improve road safety.
Well, I don't know about yourself, but I've been on 2 speed awareness courses, so that in itself shows you that they don't really have the effect that they should. And I recently faced the wrath of a speeding camera, and I wasn't within my time scale to be able to go and do another speed awareness course. So I took the points. Now, the stretch of road that I was on, I know it. I know it's quiet. There's nothing there. This was a mobile camera that had rather sneakily placed itself somewhere where my wife spotted it before I did, and said, "Camera," but by then it was too late. Now, I know that road. I don't know why that was there. There was nothing on the road. I was literally me and my wife in the car, nobody else about other than this camera guy. Now, as far as speed awareness courses go, when I went to my second one and they asked a question, I think it was about repeaters, and they said, "Do you know what these are called?" I said, "Yeah." I put my hand up. "Yeah, they're repeaters." "Oh, that's good. How do you know that?" Well, I've been on the course before, and which got like a wry smile from a lot of people. But there you go. But yeah, like you said, I don't really think that the courses have the impact that they're supposed to have.
No,
they are more of a mop of the brow for people who thought, "Thank goodness for that. I've not got 3 points on my license. I've sat in a classroom for half a day or a day, been bored out of my brains, and been made to feel like I'm in some sort of form of school detention for perhaps hitting another kid while I've been at school." But that's the sort of feeling you get. It's more of a school detention than anything else. So it doesn't serve the purpose that they claim it does. But off the back of that sort of further implies that it is a revenue generator as opposed to a deterrent.
And I mean, I've managed to avoid these courses. I do try to observe very, very carefully when I'm driving for anything that looks even vaguely suspicious, unliveried vans even, I will slow down at, lay-bys and places like that where you can expect them. And obviously, of course, if they're on bridges and if you're in your observation has a perception, because I consider them to be hazards because they cause other drivers to react erratically.
They do.
And so I'm always scanning short, medium, long distance. And if I see something on an overbridge, my first thought is camera. And, I'll make the necessary adjustment to progress, shall we say. But I don't see that they serve any useful purpose in terms of road safety because if nothing else, most of the speed limits they're policing are not relevant under modern conditions to modern road engineering and the abilities of cars and drivers to react. But certainly, the more you dumb down drivers, the more you actually get them to switch off, and they basically do become, zombie cruise control crash dummies.
Well, because you start looking for things that you shouldn't be looking for rather than focusing on the road. Yeah.
And if you are, you've got sort of 6 or 8 points or 9 points or whatever, then you will drive at the limit. But you are more focused then on the speedometer than what's going on around you.
Yes, absolutely.
It's completely crazy. I mean, there's 2 questions that somebody asked me many years ago. A Rosper driver, actually, who was an ABD member at the time, which started me thinking about so many years ago. He said, "Brian, if I blacked out your speedometer, do you think you could drive safely?" And I said, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
He said, "What would happen if I blacked out your windscreen?" And it's pretty obvious. If my speedo broke, I believe I can drive quite safely. I might not be within the law, but I could drive safely. But if your windscreen's blacked out, well, you're just going to crash into the next piece of road furniture or next vehicle you encounter.
Straight away. Yeah. I mean, most people that are driving within the flow of traffic, for my mind, are safe.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether that's going slightly over, slightly under, or wherever it is in the speed limit. If you're in a flow of traffic and you're at a speed that is appropriate to that flow of traffic, then you're safe.
Yeah, and there's a book that I would recommend to anybody to read on this whole psychology of driving. It's called Mind Driving by Stephen Haley, and he has a very simple sort of mnemonic kind of equation, and his equation for safe driving is speed times surprise divided by space. So the more space you've got, the more time you've got to adjust your speed. But if you're in a confined space, traveling at high speed, then your freedom of movement, your degrees of freedom are so compressed that you're actually really in danger. And that one of the things I hate driving on motorways and dual carriageways is you get this wagon train of cars following an HGV, for example, overtaking another HGV at a mile per hour, and they're all stuffed up each other's boots. And my immediate response is, right, I'm pulling well back from these guys. But of course, the problem is you do that now and you get 57 people jumping into the gap you've left. Yeah. But, still you're protecting your own safety. And I will never follow a wagon train of traffic that's waiting for one HGV to overtake another, because all it takes is the HGV driver to foot off the accelerator, God forbid, have a heart attack or something, and the rest are into the back of it. And,
for me, the safest bit of thing on our motorways is a bit of paint, and that's the chevrons.
Yes.
If you follow those to the rule, you can't go far wrong. Not these digital signs, not cameras, a little bit of paint.
So yes, absolutely. Those are really good. And when they first put them in I think it was on the M1 and the M6, they had massive reductions in tailgating accidents, rear end shunts, simply because people were keeping a safe following distance. But that isn't emphasized. Again, no public information films. I mean, when I started, only a fool breaks the 2-second rule. Yeah. Where's that gone?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
On any motorway now, and most people are not traveling anywhere near 2 seconds headway between them and the preceding vehicle.
You'd think with the money that they've raised that would be something that they would look at doing.
But the problem is it costs money, but it doesn't make any money. And everything now seems to be centered around how much revenue can we generate from this policy. I'm sorry, that may seem a very cynical point of view, but I found over the course of my life that cynicism is a far more practical point of view than naive gullibility.
Absolutely. So if we look back at the show that we've done today, masking and eyesight are critical. People following saccadic masking and making sure that their eyesight is regularly checked, and if they have to wear glasses, wear the glasses.
Exactly.
Over 70 testing, it's a start, but it's an unfair start. I mean, it should be something that is there for everybody of driving age.
Yeah.
And that speed is, in fact, a minor cause versus observation.
Absolutely.
Yet it is the full focus of enforcement.
Because it's easy to police. Whereas the other things like tailgating and paying attention, forcing road users to actually concentrate on the surrounding road environment, that's harder. And it requires road user education rather than road user oppression.
Yeah. So really, what we're asking is anybody who has enjoyed the show or has taken anything from it, or if it's jolted a memory, if they can get in touch with us and let us know about any issues that they've had, such as minor speed infringements, or maybe they're worried about their eyesight and they're worried that they're going to be taken off the road. We want to hear from you.
I think one of the other things we want to say as well is that there's a perception, and it's been deliberately created, that the enforcement equipment is infallible. And we will be coming back to that in the future, because it is far from infallible. And there's a lot of evidence that we need to explore on that. And people need to be aware that their speeding fine might actually be unlawful.
Yeah, we're looking into some very specific cases at the moment. Yeah.
But certainly, absolutely, the key thing out there when you're driving is observation, because if you aren't observing, you're not going to perceive hazards and you're not going to respond appropriately to those hazards. So very much watch what's going on around you, take enormous, concentrate very heavily on that and be aware of that, and drive defensively accordingly.
So if people want to get in touch with us, Brian, where do they need to go?
Go to our website, abd.org.uk//join us. I think you can join or donate on our website. There's a lot of information there, and get in touch with us. Leave comments, because you can post comments on the website, and you can also access copies of Driving Sense, our monthly magazine, and for members who will pay the extra, there is a Driving Sense Extra, which is a quarterly printed publication, which this is the latest issue, is it not?
Yep, this is the one that's just being worked on at the moment by my good self, and that will be going to print in the next week or so, and will be available digitally at the beginning of September. So yes, it's always full of very interesting articles relating to all the matters that we will talk about via Full Throttle. So road safety, it's not about speed traps, it's about awareness, Brian.
Absolutely. And we want to hear from you, as we've just pointed out. So until next time,
keep your eyes open and keep it full throttle.